Now let's talk about arrays now. This is very important concept. Of course, any programming language without arrays is unimaginable actually. So from that perspective, there are two kinds of arrays. You can have a fixed length array, or you can even have a dynamic array. So, I mean, about this, for memory arrays, it cannot be mapping. We'll look into it little later when I introduce mapping in general. So if in case I have to declare an array as a fixed length, then you give the elementary type t, and in a bracket you need to give the size. And if it's a dynamically sized, then you can just give the elementary type and empty braces. So if you give it this way, then it's a dynamically sized array, which you can then declare the size of it during your runtime of your program. Variables of type bytes and strings are special arrays. So if you declare a variable of type bytes or strings, they are invariably for a compiler and array itself. And the array comes with a member called length. So if you give the variable name dot length, it gives you the number of elements this current array actually holds. So, and if in case you declare a dynamic storage array, then it also comes with an additional function called push in order to append the elements at the end of the array. So if we try to see an example. So if you see here, we are trying to declare a variable a. The addition of a memory here is to say that this variable, basically the lifespan of this variable is only within this function. And it comes with and if in case you want to declare the size of this integer or this array a, it says new int 7. So let's try to use. So let's now introduce a function. Let's say function. Let's have a constructor. The constructor currently has, let's say, uint initial line. Then you have a string called my token name. Okay, so if I have to now, let's assume that I want to declare an array here. So I say, maybe I say uint, and I say 10. So if I want to just declare a static array of elements, 10 elements, I can just declare it. So if this is the case, then basically I can add, if I want to now add values, I can say it is 1, something like this. This is how the arrays would work. If in case I want to do a dynamic variable, then it's something like this. Sorry, B. Yes. So if in case it's like this, invariably when you don't have, if you don't specify a storage here, by default this is basically a memory variable. And if it's a memory variable, you just can't, what it basically is, you cannot extend it, you cannot provide, you cannot specify the length of this array by just doing it like this. So if I want to say the length of my array is 20, I just can't do like b dot length equal to 10. This would give a compilation error. But if I want to do this, then I need to use new. So the 7 elements can be inserted into this array. So it's a array of length 7. So if it's a memory variable, then dynamic. If it's a dynamic variable which is of type memory and not storage. So if it's a storage type, then if I want to declare a storage type which is stored in the blockchain even after my execution of this function, I can just say anytime So what basically it means basically is that if in case you want to allocate a storage variable to a memory, like if you see this example here, we have two functions G and H. G accepts a array of type storage, and H is basically a memory array. So whenever I'm passing a data to G, then basically I should be passing a storage array. And if in case when I'm passing the data to H, then in that case it creates a copy of my data. So G is basically reference, so pass by reference and pass by value. So if in case this is let's say a contract C, where I have declared an unsigned integer to X. Now when I'm passing this X to my function G, function function H, then it will pass the value of X as pass by value. So it will create a copy of my array, and when I pass it to G function, then it becomes a pass by reference. So in the function G, when I'm actually, it's a pass by reference. So let's take a test. So I'll just leave this here. Let's have a test function, because here if I say and when I pass and when I call, try to call here. So if I pass B here, it's like this. This is a public variable only. Why is it still? It's like you can't pass it this way. Yes, because it's a storage variable, you don't need to. But if I pass an A here, you cannot pass an A here, because by default this becomes a storage. Doesn't accept it here. We need to see why is it not accepting. Basically, from a public function, you cannot pass to a. If I just remove here, then it will work. Then it will be. if in case now when I pass my array here, and if so it is my array now. So when I pass my array, I can now adjust the length of the array. Here the length was 20. I can, because it's passed by reference, so basically I can okay, so I cannot change the value here. I can only store it in an array. So if I say here I can just store it here. So it will be open. And I can only capture the, it should take my, okay, so this is about array literals. So in case of array literals, arrays that have written as expressions and are not are assigned to a variable right away. So you can specify an array literal like this. So you can say I have an unsigned integer of length 3 with the variable name underscore data. And when you are actually trying to call that function in your another function, you can actually pass the literals like this. So you don't need to specify the name of the variables. You can just pass the literals. And when you pass the literal values, it automatically, we can just try this out if that's interesting. So we can change this function directly here. So, all right. So if I have test, and for this test I say 3 value, and now if I want to call this function here, from here, I can just say so now I can pass directly the values to my function, which is a type array. Now this is one of the important concepts. This is about hash maps. If we talk about this mapping, so mapping basically has mapping is like a hash map. I mean, in Java when we have this hash map, not very similar. It has some differences, but what we mean by this, by mapping, is basically to have a key value pair. So you can have a dynamically sized array. It is a dynamically sized array in a contract. So the key type can be like either an elementary type, or it can be a contract or an enumerator or a structure. The value can actually be of any type, including mapping. And it is very similar to hash maps, which are virtually initialized, such that every possible key exists and is mapped to a value. Although what is not similar with the other hash maps is that the key data, the key that you see here, the key data basically does not include or does not actually store the key value. What it stores is only the hash of the key. So it is just that you will be able to search the exact value that you are looking for. So for example, let's declare here map for ourselves. So we say mapping, we say address. So this is of type address, which we just talked about. And we want to store the, what we want to store basically is the balance of an address. So I just say integer and I say public balance. So what this means is basically this is the key, the address is the key, and the balance is the value. So so what it means is this is an address and the balance mapping which is named by balance of. So balance of is what will balance of do is it will store the address. We will try to store for each and for all the addresses on the blockchain or all the wallets on the blockchain, its respective balance. So if I try to use that in my constructor, let me try to use it in my constructor. So I would say balance of this command msg.sender. Just hang on for some time, you will understand. So what I'm trying to do is basically whatever I am getting as an input, I'm first assigning it as a balance to the sender. So whatever, whoever is calling or invoking this function or a transaction, I'm first putting the initial supply or whatever are the number of tokens that I have received, I am putting it as an initial supply to this address. And for my purpose, I am also storing these variables here. Just give me a second. So, so this is how mapping would work. So here I have stored the balance of the address that has of the transaction who has invoked this function into storing this initial supply of this. So that's exactly what we did. So what is there in this example is that we have declared a mapping here called balances. Here we have written a function called update, which passes a new balance, and in this we are updating the new balance of the address. So from the mapping user, if you see, the function f calls the update function and passes 100 tokens to it. So when it passes the 100 tokens, so the invoker of this function will get the 100 tokens. So the new balance of this invoker would be basically 100.
I'm sure you enjoyed learning from this video. Please like the video, and if you have any doubts regarding this video, please comment us in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more such informative videos. Do look out for other related videos in our playlist. For more information, visit our website now. Keep learning with Intellipaat.